Okay, so we're on page, what, of the, around 47? Or after, maybe around 50? 47 is the end. I get the, well, I'll find it here. Okay. Yes, we finished the section on nirvana. We were in this section about the mantra. Okay. So the mantra section on the mantra starts on page 43 of the text, page 50 of the PDF.
That section, we're starting at the implicit meaning of the Heart Sutra.
We were starting at what?
The implicit meaning of the Heart.
Oh yes, sorry. Yeah, so that's, yes, I looked, yeah, page 51 of the PDF.
Or the second paragraph of that section.
Yes, I wanted to read the first paragraph again, just to remind us where we were. Okay, because we had the explicit meaning of the Heart Sutra is the meditation on emptiness, okay? And then the implicit is, they say, the paths and stages, but what it means is all the other things that you have to practice, and basically all conventionalities, because when you study the path and stages, whether it's things to abandon or things to practice, you come upon all these different terms. Okay? So the mantra contains the implicit or hidden meaning of the Heart Sutra, revealing how the understanding of emptiness is related to the 5 stages or the 5 paths, to 5 Mahayana paths to Buddhahood. In this mantra, we can read the first go or gone, okay, as an excitation to enter the path of accumulation, okay, which is in the Bodhisattva path when you have spontaneous bodhicitta, whenever you see some living being. Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah? You see a turkey and your first thought is, I want to liberate that being from samsara. Yeah? Or you see a wasp in the autumn when they're hungry and buzzing around, and your thought is, yeah, I want to attain awakening so I can help that living being get there too. Okay. So the first go is an exhortation to enter the path of accumulation, that is, accumulating merit and wisdom. And the second go or gone as an exhortation to enter the path of preparation. So that the demarcation of entering that is when you have a union of serenity and insight focused on emptiness. Okay, so it's an inferential understanding. So the path of accumulation is so called because you're really working on accumulating merit and wisdom. Path of preparation is so called because you're preparing for the path of seeing. Path of seeing is so called because that's when you have your first direct perception of emptiness. So you can see why path of preparation came before that. You have, this inferential understanding or realization of emptiness, which is preparing you for the actual direct perception, because what you're doing during your meditations on emptiness at that point is wearing away the conceptual appearance of emptiness that's appearing to you. Yeah?
So, Venerable, I'm just hoping for clarification on something you taught like a few weeks ago. something you taught a few weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
So in this sutra, Venerable Asvajit, I think that's his name, gives a stanza of the Buddha's teaching to Shariputra.
Uh-huh.
And Shariputra, the sutra says that Shariputra realizes stream entry immediately. So that's not correct, though, because that would be impossible?
Well, yeah, you hear of these things where people kind of seem to gain extraordinary realizations very quickly. Yeah, it's because those people in previous lives have done a whole lot of practice. Yeah. So probably in a previous lifetime, Shariputra heard something about emptiness, was contemplating it, and then in that particular lifetime, the way he understood the stanza that was repeated to him was such that it sparked that karma from the previous familiarity, so that he realized it.
But so his mental consciousness wouldn't be too distracted at that moment with seeing things and...
Well, maybe his eyes are open, but what's happening when he heard that? He isn't like sitting there with his iPad listening to Maitreya, tell him that verse, and at the same time checking his watch and his phone. He's really listening.
So then, maybe at that moment, every conventional phenomena did disappear. Is that the case?
We don't know. Did he have an inferential understanding at that moment, or a direct realization? Stream entry actually is a direct realization. So, I cannot talk to you about how Shariputra gained his realization. That is really beyond my pay grade. Yeah. So, and anyway, they're cutting jobs, so they're going to lay me off any moment. Yeah. So, somehow these things work. Like we hear the story of Milarepa, and, he did horrible things the first part of his life. He killed 35 people with a negative mind using black magic. And then he attained an awakening in that very lifetime. Yeah. And so we go, how is that? Well, if we, knew what he had spent so many previous lives doing, putting imprints of emptiness, bodhicitta, and so forth in his mind stream, then that can happen. Now, what we start doing is, maybe I'm one of those people too. Yeah, and I'm going to sit in Dharma class and hear one word and then boing! I'm going to be a path of seeing too, sitting right next to, Shariputra. Those are exceptional cases. Now, I know that each one of us thinks that we are exceptional, and that we are the best and the most important, and how happy the Buddha should be to have us as his disciples. But when you have that attitude, that arrogance is going to prevent you from having realizations. So try and cool it, Okay? Now, I say this because it's so interesting, you get all the new Westerners coming to Dharamsala. I don't know, maybe it's different now when there's older people who are coming, but, when I was there, everybody was young. And there were so many people who thought, maybe, I'm actually a Rinpoche and they're going to recognize me. Yeah, everybody kind of goes through that stage, yeah? Your first stage is maybe you hear one Dharma teaching, maybe I should ordain, after you hear one Dharma teaching. Then it's, I hear a second Dharma teaching, then, I'll have a realization of emptiness. By the third Dharma teaching, that one's going to be the charm. Then they'll recognize that I'm a Rinpoche. Okay. Think twice if you really want to be a Rinpoche. Okay? Think twice about it. Yeah. What are their lives like? Yeah. Instead of being, well, first of all, you don't, just because you have that designation doesn't mean you have a realization. Okay. Second of all, how do you get treated by everybody? Yeah. You cannot even walk down the street in any Buddhist community without everybody coming up like this to you, wanting you to touch, pat their head and give them a blessing. Yeah. You can't do anything on your own. You have an attendant following you, maybe 2 attendants, maybe, some groupie disciples following you. And everywhere you go, people are coming up asking for blessings, asking for you to say some mantra and blow on them because it cures diseases. Yeah? Do you want, yeah? And then giving you, so many bags of apples and oranges that you don't know what to do with. So you give them away to other people. Yeah. Just think about it. Yeah. And see, do you really want to have a life where you are that famous in a community? Yeah. So I'm sure there are many people who are actually qualified to be Rinpoches, but are manifesting in ways so that they are not recognized, because very often you can, the Rinpoches that are recognized, you look at His Holiness, he can do many, many good things, but there's many things he can't do because he's so famous. Yeah, and so you need, for all those people who are having realizations right, left, and center from your third, Dharma teaching, just being a regular sentient being, you can actually communicate and help with people that the very famous people can never do, because they just deal with crowds mostly. Yeah. So, when I look at my teachers, some of the ones, His Holiness, I have a personal relationship with him, but, most people don't. But, the teachers, I was just thinking when we were chanting the Heart Sutra, the teachers who helped me most to understand the Heart Sutra, were Geshe Champa Tekchok, Khenso Champa Tekchok, and Geshe Sopa, and, okay, and Geshe Sonam Rinchen, who I went to as much as possible with my long list of questions, who, we spent hours together with Ruth, the translator, debating different points. You can never have that kind of interaction with somebody who is so famous and has so many students. Yeah. So just think about, there's many ways to benefit sentient beings. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm still trying to get through this first paragraph, so maybe let's hold the questions for a while. Okay, so this path of preparation is marked by the attainment of a union of serenity and insight. Then go beyond, the third one, refers to the path of seeing, that is, seeing reality, the direct and unmediated realization of emptiness. So there's no conceptual appearance here. A practitioner who sees in this way has become an Arya, or noble being. Yeah, so I went on before about how noble is not a very good translation, then you start thinking of royalty and, who's going to wear King, what's his name? Philip now. No, that was her husband. Charles, yeah. So King Charlie's throne, and are they? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm an irreverent American, Yeah. And you're American too. Okay. So there's no, Arya does not mean noble, like royalty. It means noble in the sense of they have a realization that is higher. Yeah. Okay. So to go totally beyond indicates the path of meditation, wherein one becomes deeply familiar with emptiness through constant practice. So in path of seeing, you're eliminating the acquired afflictions. Path of meditation, there's 81 stages or 81 groups of afflictions which can be condensed into 9, each with 9 sub things in it, and as you go through the different bodhisattva bhumis and so on, you are eliminating these afflictions. So that's the work, and those are the innate afflictions. On path of meditation, you're also eliminating the cognitive obscurations. Okay, you've got, according to the Prasangikas, by the 8th bhumi, the 8th ground, you've eliminated the afflictive obscurations, and then on the last 3 grounds, you're eliminating the cognitive ones. Okay, the final part of this mantra, Bodhisoha, is an exhortation to establish oneself firmly in the path of no more learning, which is to say, to enter final nirvana. It's to attain Buddhahood, okay? Final nirvana, it's unclear what they mean, because it could mean just the attainment of of Buddhahood, or very often parinirvana is spoken of, at least in the fundamental vehicle, as final nirvana. Yeah, but that is when the Buddha just goes into nirvana and never reappears again. Okay, but the Mahayana path says the Buddha doesn't go into that nirvana, where just meditating on emptiness, but constantly, without effort, makes gazillions of emanations to go out and benefit sentient beings. Okay, so remember last time I said that you're really busy when you become Buddha? Yeah, you are, And then all these people are praying to you, asking Buddha, I want this, I want that. How many secretaries does the Buddha need to, get all those requests? Yeah, and see what he can do. Yeah, see if he can pull some magical switches and make God give somebody realizations. That's kind of, when people are praying like that, that's kind of what they're asking for, That's some extra terrestrial something, zap, and then you get what you want. But as, the whole idea of the whole, somebody once asked His Holiness if the Buddha had a brand, had a motto, a slogan, what would it be? And His Holiness said, dependent arising. Yeah? Dependent arising, first dependence on causes and conditions. You're praying for your son or daughter to marry a nice Buddhist boy or girl, Well, you think the Buddha's going to play a matchmaker and kind of, arrange for them to meet. If you want them to do that, send them, get your son or daughter where they don't want to go, which is to a Buddhist temple. And then they'll meet somebody there. No, I'm joking. But, this is what Christians and Jews and Muslims do to get their kids to marry somebody from their own religion. Yeah, so you have youth groups. Yeah. I learned Israeli dancing. Yeah, and then met various guys along the way. Some of them. Okay. You're supposed to marry a nice Jewish boy. Yeah. I kept hearing about nice Jewish boys. Yeah, see, I say hold the questions, and now he's going to ask me about Israeli dancing.
No, it's relevant to the topic. So the demarcation of entering the path of meditation is that when one has removed all the acquired afflictions?
No, it's the path of meditation. You've removed on the path of seeing the acquired. The path of meditation, the demarcation, is when your wisdom is now strong enough to start eliminating the innate afflictions. Okay, before you had that direct perception, but the wisdom wasn't strong enough. You didn't have enough merit, enough force behind it to eliminate the innate. It was only the acquired. Now, on the path of meditation, it's strong enough. Okay? So your realization of emptiness does not change. Yeah, it's just the power behind that consciousness. Yeah. Increases. Go totally beyond indicates the path of meditation. I'm saying the same thing, wherein one becomes deeply familiar with emptiness through constant practice. The final part of this mantra, Bodhisoha, is an exhortation to establish one firmly in the path of no more learning, which is to say, enter the final nirvana. Okay, now we're starting the next paragraph. We can relate these 5 stages on the path to Buddhahood: accumulation, preparation, seeing, meditation, and no more learning, to the different parts of the main body of the Heart Sutra. The fourfold presentation of emptiness at the beginning of the text. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Okay, we did this last week, but I'll repeat it. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form, too, is not other than emptiness. This presents a way to practice emptiness at the first 2 stages of the path of accumulation and path of preparation. The emptiness of the 8 aspects of phenomena. All phenomena are empty, they are without characteristics, and so on, presents the mode of generating insight into emptiness on the path of seeing. Okay. Then the phase, therefore, or the phrase, there is no ignorance, there is no extinction of ignorance, and so on, explains the method of practicing emptiness on the level of the stage of the path of meditation. Okay, so the method of practicing emptiness, okay, on the path of seeing and path of meditation, you have your meditative equipoise and emptiness, and then you have what's called the, what did we call? No. There's the meditation equipoise. I can't remember the technical term, but it's what you do in the break time. Subsequent attainment, yeah. So you have those 2. The meditative equipoise phase is divided into the path of interruption. uninterrupted path. It has something to do with it. I'm forgetting all my terminology. The uninterrupted path and the liberating path, okay? The uninterrupted path is when the mind, that realization of emptiness, is engaged in the process of eliminating that particular level of affliction or obscuration. The liberating path occurs in the same meditation session, still in meditative equipoise, but when you get to the liberating path or the liberated path, then that particular level of afflictions has been eliminated. So the difference is described as the uninterrupted path is when you are in the stage of kicking a thief out of your house. The liberated path is when he's out of the house, you've closed the door, locked it so he can't come back in. Okay, but it's happening in one meditative session. Now, then when you come out of that meditation session in the, subsequent attainment. Yeah, so it's subsequent to your meditative equipoise. I like to say it's what you're doing in the break time between meditative equipoises, okay? So here, sometimes you may be meditating on, you may be in meditation, meditating on bodhicitta. You may also be meditating on emptiness, but not using a direct, you still could have a direct realization of emptiness. So you're doing all sorts of other meditations, not on emptiness or on emptiness, that are not yet at the level of being strong enough to remove the next grade of afflictions. And you're also, going to fetch water, cooking your lunch, turning off your phone and deleting the email. I hope not. That you've done all that and gone offline before you've gone into a long retreat. So you're doing other meditations, you're doing your daily life activities, and for these bodhisattvas on path of seeing, path of meditation, because of their bodhicitta, they have the ability to make all these different emanations that they send out to benefit sentient beings. So they spend a lot of time accumulating merit, okay? Yeah, so although we often describe the paths and grounds in terms of, how you go in terms of the realization of emptiness, that's done to really show how your realization is changing and how you're gaining more strength. That realization has more strength. But you're also in all these paths doing so many actions of generosity and ethical conduct and fortitude and making emanations, going out and giving counseling and giving teachings and manifesting as bridges for those who need a bridge, and manifesting for cats, as for people who need a cat to hug, and dogs as people, who are going in surgery, and they, when you come out of surgery to have some animal, So they manifest as all these different kinds of things, yeah? And sometimes they may even manifest as non-Buddhists in order to teach people a religion that may not be Buddhist, but that will help those people because that's what will make sense to them given their disposition, their interest, and their karma in that particular life. Yeah. So you have people saying, well, maybe Jesus was a bodhisattva. Yeah. And different, people, maybe, the woman who warned the, was she Episcopal? The Episcopal priest who who talked to Donnie and said, have compassion for people and don't harm people and be sensitive. Maybe she was an emanation of a bodhisattva doing some kind of good. Yeah? So we don't know. I mean, the bodhisattvas don't go and announce themselves. Yeah? It's the people who aren't bodhisattvas who announce that they're bodhisattvas. Okay? So hold on to your wallet. The next section, therefore, Shariputra, since bodhisattvas have no attainments, they rely on this perfection of wisdom and abide in it, explains the practice of emptiness on the last bodhisattva ground, where they abide in the adamantine or vajra meditative equipoise. And that eliminates or overcomes the last residual obscuration to omniscience. Okay. The actual transition from one ground or one path to the next takes place when the practitioner is immersed in meditative equipoise. At the final stage, that is, when the practitioner is on the initial stage, that is, when the practitioner is on the path of accumulation, one's understanding of emptiness is derived more from an intellectual, not so much intellectual. The inferential is really powerful. We hear the word intellectual and we think, oh, it's just words, they don't really understand much. But these people understand. I mean, when you have an inferential realization, they say it's very powerful. Okay. So at the initial stage, that is when the practitioner is on the path of accumulation, one's understanding of emptiness is derived more from an intellectual understanding of emptiness and the nature of phenomena. So they don't necessarily have they may have insight into emptiness on path of accumulation, but they don't yet have the serenity, so they can't have the union of the two. Or they may have serenity by that point, but they haven't yet reached, final conclusion, correct understanding of emptiness. Yeah. Or maybe they don't have either in the path of accumulation. They're developing both. Yeah. They usually, when they talk about 3 countless great eons to attain awakening, that starts with the path of accumulation. It doesn't start at our level. We haven't even gotten to where they're starting to count. Okay? So the first of the countless great eons, of the 3 countless great eons, is the path of accumulation and path of preparation. Yeah. The second of the 3 countless great eons is from the path of seeing, which begins on the 10 bodhisattva grounds until the 8th bodhisattva ground. That's the second. Yeah. And then your last countless great eon is on the 3 pure bodhisattva stages, the 8th, 9th grounds, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Okay. Don't ask me how many years is a convert 3 countless great eons into years, okay? You can look that up on the thing, on the internet, where they have the conversion from centimeters to inches. They should have that too. Maybe from feet you can get to yojana. We should see if they have updated it to that, and how many, and then years to countless great eons. Okay. Okay, bodhisattva practitioners with keen intellects, we would call these sharp faculty. Yeah. So, because we hear intellect and we think of somebody like who's gone to university, who's very intellectual and knows a lot. You can have that kind of intellect, but when it comes to Dharma, be very, very stupid and hold lots of wrong views. Okay? So what we call intellect, in worldly ways, yes, there is intellect, but we can't necessarily convert that into Buddhist understanding, okay? Because somebody could have the karma, to do rocket science, but absolutely no interest in the Dharma. And of course, if they don't have interest, then they're not going to learn anything, and they're not going to have understanding come. Okay. Okay, but here, when it talks about bodhisattva practitioners with keen intellects, they're talking about sharp faculty bodhisattvas. Okay, so they may attain a profound understanding of emptiness prior to generating the altruistic attitude of bodhicitta. Okay, so, let me finish the paragraph here. Those less inclined towards intellectual understanding may develop the aspiration to liberate all beings first. In either case, a profound understanding of emptiness will have a powerful impact on other areas of practice, reinforcing and complementing them. A deep understanding of emptiness can lead to powerful renunciation, which is the aspiration to free oneself from the suffering of cyclic existence. And it can serve also as the basis for cultivating strong compassion towards all beings. So when they talk about how people enter the path of accumulation, okay, they talk about modest faculty people and, or sometimes they say dull faculty. Modest is more polite. And sharp faculty, So modest faculty people develop renunciation, compassion, and bodhicitta, enter the path of accumulation, and then they start really delving into emptiness more. They've learned it before, but they don't have a really strong conceptual understanding of what emptiness is, let alone an inferential understanding. Sharp faculty disciples, before they enter path of accumulation, they really want to know, is awakening possible? Because I don't want to go through, do all this other stuff if I'm not sure that awakening is possible. So, and they know that the key to awakening, the thing that eliminates the final obscurations, is the realization of emptiness. So they, before they've even entered path of accumulation, sharp faculty disciples are doing a lot of meditation on emptiness, and a lot of hearing of teachings, contemplating teachings and meditating on teaching. So they're really using, when we talk about the wisdom of hearing, the wisdom of contemplation or thinking or debating, and then the wisdom of meditation. Okay? So they're especially doing a lot of the study and then the debating and thinking about it to really get the correct understanding. Then when they have that, then they say, okay, now I know that it's possible to realize emptiness, it's possible to cut ignorance off so that it never exists, it's possible to cut all the cognitive obscurations and obliterate them. So now I will generate bodhicitta and enter the path of accumulation. Okay? So that's how they do it. They always encourage us to try and be a sharp faculty disciple. That doesn't mean you neglect bodhicitta, because clearly bodhicitta is how you accumulate merit, and you need both accumulations. the accumulation of merit and accumulation of wisdom. We need both. Yeah. I think, did I tell you that there's a story in, I think I mentioned this before, and the story in one of the scriptures about there were two brothers, and the elder brother just meditated on emptiness. So he got the realization of emptiness, but when he went on Pindapat, he didn't get any food offerings because he didn't have merit. And then his younger brother collected a lot of merit. When he went on Pindapat, he got many offerings, and he still had to work on developing the wisdom. Okay, so the story is to show that we need both. Yeah, and we should practice them together. We shouldn't be, we should be balanced. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so then it was saying an understanding of emptiness can lead to powerful renunciation. Yes, because, when you see, it's possible to eliminate ignorance, then I want to get out of samsara. It's possible to do, I'm going to do it. That's renunciation. When you think about how sentient beings are suffering due to their ignorance, then you develop compassion, and you want to get, and you generate bodhicitta, and because you want to really, and you want to realize emptiness at that point, because you know that that's how you're going to achieve what your bodhicitta is aspiring for. Okay? Yeah, so Shantideva started out, his texts on the Bodhisattva deeds speaking about bodhicitta. Yeah, why? First chapter, all the benefits of bodhicitta. What's one of the big benefits of bodhicitta? You accumulate a lot of merit with whatever you're doing because you're working for the benefit of countless sentient beings, and you have the highest aspiration to attain awakening. Yeah. So he starts us out like that. Yeah. Okay. On the stage of accumulation, one's realization of emptiness is derived primarily from learning, reflection, and intellectual understanding. And through meditation on what one has learned, one's understanding becomes deeper and deeper until one ultimately gains a total understanding with insight, vipassana. At this point, one enters the stage of preparation. Here, the individual's insight into emptiness, while not yet direct, is no longer intellectual or it is conceptual, but it's conceptual and experiential. Okay, it's not intellectual, like, that kind of intellectual. During the stage of the path of preparation, one's understanding of emptiness becomes progressively deeper, clearer, and more subtle. Okay, because you're wearing away the conceptual appearance. The use of concepts in meditation gradually recedes. When all dualistic perception of subject and object, of conventional reality, and of inherent existence are removed, one enters the path of seeing. At this point, there is no separation of subject and object. It's as if the subjective experience and its object have become fused, like water poured into water, and one's meditation on emptiness becomes unmediated and direct. Okay? So before, when you're meditating on emptiness, and when you meditate on anything, there's me meditating on this topic. There's the consciousness meditating on that topic, which is the object. Okay? And so there's a difference. perceived of subject and object. They say with the direct perception of emptiness, experientially, there's no feeling of a subject and object. The two are put together. When I try and think about what would that feel like, to have no subject-object distinction, that is very puzzling. What would it feel like? Because as soon as I say, what would it feel like, I am imagining, which is conceptual, and that's already dualism. And we have dualism all the time when we're thinking, when we're seeing things with our senses. Yeah, so just imagining what that would be like is really difficult, yeah? But there's no sense of subject and object. All that appears to the mind is just emptiness, okay? You're meditating on the emptiness of the mind, but the mind is no longer appearing to you. Or you're meditating on the emptiness of the self, or the emptiness of the cowbell. I don't know, but when you realize it directly, yeah, that object is no longer appearing, and no other conventional object is appearing. Okay, that doesn't mean that there's no conventional truths. So that realization of emptiness is not destroying conventional reality. It is destroying the self-grasping ignorance, okay, that grasps things as inherently existent, and the latencies of which cause things to appear to the consciousness as inherently existent. Okay, so there's no appearance of the object you're meditating on or the subject that's meditating, no appearance of any other thing, because you're in meditative equipoise, single-pointedly, so you're not thinking about what you're going to eat for lunch after this session is over. You know, you're just focused on emptiness. Yeah. Okay. And there's also no appearance of inherent existence, you know, because, well, you're seeing the opposite of inherent existence at that point. Okay, so they say it's like subject and object fused, water poured into water. When you pour water into water, then you can't differentiate which water was there already and which water is getting poured in. They become totally mixed. Now, some people like to say it is one. Everything, so many religions, oneness, everything is one. Okay, Buddhism does not say everything is one. Buddhism talks about non-duality. It says, it talks about non-duality. Things are empty of inherent existence. It doesn't say that I am you and you are me and we all are part of, one universal mind, one universal substance, that we're all created by a permanent God, everything was one, and then God got bored and created people. There's nothing like that in Buddhism. Okay? So it's just non-dual. It's telling you what it isn't. Yeah. And the non-duality means no subject and object, no appearance in meditative equipoise of conventional truths. When you come out of meditative equipoise, then you perceive all your conventional truths. Yeah, and no appearance of inherent existence. When you come out of meditative equipoise, before you attain Buddhahood, there is the appearance of inherent existence. However, you know that that appearance is incorrect. And so that's when they say that you meditate on illusion-like experiences. That's what you do when you've had a realization of emptiness in the break time, okay? That does not mean things are illusions. Yeah, you're not meditating on illusory, it's not called the illusory meditation. It's illusion-like appearances, okay? So they're like illusions, they are not illusions. Yeah? So it's like it's real chocolate chip cookies, and then it's illusory chocolate chip cookies, because it's not chocolate chip cookies. It looks that way, but it's deceptive because there's no eggs and there's no butter and there's no flour, and it's completely fake, okay? So, what are you giving that kind of look for? You don't like my examples. You like chocolate chip cookies? Okay, yeah, then you get the example. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. So things appear like illusions. Like illusion. Okay, what's the thing about illusions? They look real, but they aren't. So illusion-like experience is they appear inherently existent, but they aren't. Okay? When you are coming out of the haunted house at Disneyland, although they may have changed that in the decades since I've been to Disneyland, when you come out, you're looking across, there's a mirror, there's you sitting in the car, and there's a ghost sitting next to you, okay? Yeah, that ghost is a hologram. It's and then you're seeing the hologram as a reflection in the mirror. So it looks like a real ghost. There is no real ghost. That is an illusion. When you watch TV, you see many people on the TV. You even generate a lot of ideas about them, a lot of emotions about them. Are there people inside the TV? No. You can open your TV up. There's no little critters who crawl out. Well, I don't know. Maybe some little critters, but no living people crawl out. Okay? So those people that you see in the TV do not exist. When we have illusion-like experiences, the objects we perceive exist conventionally, but they appear inherently existent, although they are not. So they're mistaken appearances, but they are not erroneous appearances, because those things exist. Okay, I'm seeing you, you're seeing me. I hope you exist. Yeah? I can tell you I exist, yeah, because I'm the head of the universe. My universe, of course. But, so, okay, things exist conventionally, yeah. They do not exist ultimately. Conventional existence is the only kind of existence there is. Yeah? So you're realizing the ultimate nature when you realize emptiness. But that doesn't mean things exist ultimately. Because if they existed ultimately, then when you analyzed to find what they really are, you could find them. But even when you analyze emptiness, you find the emptiness of emptiness. Okay? Okay. Yeah. So as one's direct experience of emptiness deepens, one systematically counters the various mental afflictions during the path of meditation or familiarization, because the word meditation is the same verbal root as familiarization in Tibetan. During this path, one progresses through what are known as the 7 impure bodhisattva grounds. They are called impure because they still have the realization of emptiness, and direct realization of emptiness, but they still have afflictions and the seeds of afflictions. Now, granted, on those first 7 grounds, the afflictions are quite weak because they've been doing a lot of meditation on emptiness. Yeah, and they've abandoned the acquired afflictions. Maybe they've abandoned the first or second or third or who knows how many grades of afflictions on the path of meditation. But they still have afflictions in the seeds. Yeah. So they're called, that's why they're called impure. Yeah. They are called, it says that in the next sentence. They are called impure because the mental afflictions are not fully eradicated until the 8th level. On the 8th, 9th, and 10th levels, one counters even the seeds, okay, and the propensities. No, I'm sorry. On the 8th, they've eliminated the seeds of the afflictions by the 8th ground. By the 8th, 9th, on the 8th, 9th, and 10th ground, one counters even the propensities or imprints or latencies left by the afflictions. And these latencies are what make things still appear truly existent when you're out of meditation. Yeah, so even on those levels, they still have the appearance of true existence, but they're called the pure grounds because you've eliminated all the afflictive obscurations by the 8th ground. Finally, when one removes the obscurations preventing the simultaneous perception of both ultimate and conventional truths within a single cognitive event, the omniscient mind of a Buddha dawns. So before that, these high-level bodhisattvas can see emptiness directly. They can see conventional phenomena, but they can't see them simultaneously. Yeah, and the conventional phenomena still appear truly existent on those last 3 pure grounds. Okay, so now the next section says, all rejoice. Yeah, so the recitation of the perfection of wisdom mantra concludes Avalokiteshvara's answer to Shariputra's question in the opening section of the Heart Sutra. Thus far, we have presented a systematic and thorough explanation of this inspired scripture. But from here on, we will discuss the expression of rejoicing, which belongs to the category of spoken scriptures, those teachings spoken by the Buddha himself. Okay, so I wouldn't say thorough explanation, because there's a lot more to teach and to learn about emptiness. But comprehensive overview of the Heart Sutra. Yes, we've done that. Okay, so now the sutra says, therefore, the Blessed One arose from that meditative absorption and commended the holy Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, saying that this is excellent. Excellent, excellent. Tibetan, it's lexo, lexo. Well spoken, well spoken. O noble child, O Arya child. They're called child because they're the children of the Buddha, you know. It is just so. It should be just so. One must practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have revealed, for then even the Tathagatas will rejoice. So up to this point, the Buddha has been deeply immersed in meditative absorption on the appearance of the profound. Remember at the beginning? That's what it says the Buddha's doing. Without any volition on his part, the Buddha, inspires Avalokiteshvara and Shariputra to engage in the foregoing dialogue. So Buddhas have no volition because they are so familiar with bodhicitta that they do not need to think, now I'm going to do something to benefit sentient beings. Or now, in this case, now I'm going to inspire Shariputra to say this, and I'm going to inspire Avalokiteshvara to that. I hope these guys are tuned in, you know, so I don't have to repeat it. No, that's not what's going on with the Buddha. Yeah, he's doing his meditative equipoise. No motivation, because the motivation is so ingrained that he doesn't need a conscious motivation, okay, to work for the benefit of sentient beings. Okay. So without any volition on his part, the Buddha inspires Avalokiteshvara and Shariputra to engage in the foregoing dialogue. When their dialogue is concluded, then the Buddha comes out of his meditative equipoise, and he commends and affirms Avalokiteshvara's answer. This affirmation indicates that the Buddha's meditative absorption is, in fact, a fusion of deep meditative equipoise upon emptiness, the ultimate truth, and full cognizance of the world of phenomena continually unfolding, in other words, the conventional truths. This simultaneous awareness is a unique, unshared quality with anybody else, even arhats or Arya Bodhisattvas. It's a unique quality of the mind of a Buddha. Okay? So this whole conversation was a setup. Yeah? I don't know if Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara knew what they were getting into when they climbed up to Vulture's Peak and sat down. Yeah, the Buddha knew. Yeah. And the Buddha inspired them. Yeah. So, because they were just there on Vulture's Peak, you know, doing their Dharma activities. And then Shariputra goes, hey, Avalokiteshvara, you know, if a bodhisattva wants to meditate on the perfection of wisdom, how do they do it? Yeah. So he was inspired by the Buddha to say that. Why did the Buddha inspire him? Because somebody needed to ask the question so that the Buddha could inspire Avalokiteshvara to give that answer. Why didn't the Buddha answer himself? Yeah, because he was pointing, you know, to Avalokiteshvara as a reliable teacher who could explain this accurately. Yeah. So you have Shariputra and talking to Avalokiteshvara. Okay. And they have, you know, this conversation, and Avalokiteshvara explains it. Yeah. And the Buddha's listening and checking it out. I mean, he knows already Avalokiteshvara won't make a mistake, but he's checking it out, making sure. Yeah. So this points to the importance of asking questions. And some people don't like to ask questions because everybody will think I'm stupid if I ask a question. Yeah? And Shariputra, okay, Shariputra, he's the Buddha's foremost arhat, his specialization is the wisdom realizing emptiness. He's the foremost arhat in terms of the realization of emptiness. He's asking the question. You think Shariputra doesn't know the answer? Yeah. Well, somebody's going to, well, Shariputra was an arhat. He doesn't have bodhicitta. That's how he appears. Yeah. But Shariputra is asking, how does a bodhisattva practice? Yeah. I think Shariputra is asking this question, because he cares about bodhisattvas. He wants everybody, to attain full awakening. So he's asking this question. But to ordinary people's eyes, they go, but he's the foremost one in wisdom, and he's asking how bodhisattvas meditate on wisdom. He should know the answer already. Why is he asking? He's asking out of compassion. Yeah. So all the people who are afraid to ask questions during Dharma talks, maybe you need to check if you have some attachment to reputation, if you are lacking compassion. And that's the reason why you're not asking the question. Because when you have a question, chances are other people in the audience have the question too. And you're doing them a favor by asking. Yeah? So it doesn't mean every time something pops in your mind, your hand goes up. The teacher's never going to teach anything. Yeah? So you got to time your questions. But, when you have them and they fit, you should ask. Okay, so the Heart Sutra concludes as follows. As the Blessed One uttered these words, the Venerable Shariputra, the holy Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the Mahasattva, along with all those assembled, including the worlds of devas, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, all these other beings rejoiced and praised what the Blessed One, what the Buddha had said. Okay? So, the Buddha affirmed it. He said, yep, I taught Avalokiteshvara. He knows what he's saying. Thank you, Shariputra, for asking the question. Because now, all these devas, humans, asuras, gandharvas, and bodhisattvas who were filling the sky, now they all got to hear the answer. And that improved their understanding of emptiness. So thank you, Shariputra, for asking the question. Thank you, Avalokiteshvara, for giving such a beautiful overall comprehensive view of emptiness. Okay? So, when you recite the Heart Sutra, you can imagine this whole scene. Some of you have been, how many of you have been up to the top of, Vulture's Peak? It's not a very big place, is it? They were all jammed in, and the bodhisattvas are sitting in space. Probably some of the arhats were too. Many of them have, powers, super normal powers, physical ones to levitate and so on. And everybody's hanging out, listening. Yeah. Except us. Because we didn't have the karma. Yeah. Who knows what realm we were in? I don't know, maybe you were one of the asuras or Gandharvas or one of the spirits listening. I don't know. Yeah. Or maybe we were in the hell realms at that time, or the hungry ghost realm, or who knows what realm we were in. Yeah. But we weren't in that audience. So that's one reason why we, also try to make a karmic connection with Maitreya, so that we can actually hear him teach. When we read and attempt to fully grasp the depth of meaning of a scripture such as this one, we can begin to appreciate the deep sentiments in homage to the Buddha. Yeah, and this is what many of the great sages, in their homage at the beginning of the text, yeah, they pay homage to the Buddha because he taught emptiness, because he taught dependent arising. Out of the most profound depths of his realization, Tsongkhapa, the great Tibetan meditator, reformer, and scholar, wrote the following lines expressing heartfelt admiration and boundless gratitude for the Buddha's teaching on the profound truth of emptiness. So admiration and gratitude. Buddha, if you had not taught about emptiness, there's no way I would have guessed that things lacked inherent existence. This is not something I would have realized all by myself. Okay, so this is what Tsongkhapa said. Yeah, as yet, as I contemplate your words, the thought arises in me, this teacher enveloped in a halo of light and brilliant with the glorious major and minor marks, has thought thus in his perfect Brahma melody, referring to the Buddha's speech. O Buddha, as your image reflects in my mind, it brings solace to my weary heart, like the cool moon rays to one tormented by heat. Okay? And that was his praise. And then, we think of Chandrakirti's praise, to compassion, but when he talks about the third type of compassion, he's talking about emptiness in there. Okay, and so this was His Holiness's teaching that was written up in that booklet, and we completed it. Okay, so the tradition is when you complete something, you start over at the beginning and read a little bit so that you leave it unfinished, indicating that you have to meet again. Okay, so this is His Holiness, because we're studying his text. It is said that there are some 84,000 discourses that the Buddha taught in accordance with the diverse mental dispositions and spiritual inclinations of his audiences. The perfection of wisdom literature, the Prajnaparamita Sutras, is one of the principal genres among them. It is part of the Sanskrit Buddhist tradition and includes the Heart Sutra, also called the Heart of Wisdom Sutra, which we will be examining here in depth. Emphasizing the Mahayana ideal of the Bodhisattva, one who aspires to attain liberation for the sake of all sentient beings, the perfection of wisdom literature flourished in many countries, including China, from whence the scriptures were brought to Japan, Korea, and Vietnam, and to Tibet, from whence the scriptures were transmitted to Mongolia, to the vast expanse of the Trans-Himalaya region, and to areas within the Russian Federation. In the forms of Buddhism that arose in all of these countries, the Heart Sutra plays an important role. In fact, in many cases, practitioners recite it daily. And always before His Holiness's teachings, people recite the Heart Sutra, and it's done to eliminate hindrances. Yeah, the biggest hindrance being our grasping at true existence. Okay, that's it.